On a Tuesday afternoon. I think this is the latest we've ever taped the BS Report, but you know what? You got to accommodate the real WWE champ on the Subway Fresh Tech Hotline right now. CM Punk, what's happening?
Nothing. I sorry if I'm keeping you up past your bedtime. I know there's a big time difference here, but I appreciate being on the show.
Yeah, I can stay up till at least 8 o'clock, so we're good with that. You were in where were you last night? Where was Raw?
Hampton, Virginia.
Hampton, Virginia.
Yeah, and I do say that with a question mark on the end of it. Yeah, it was Hampton, Virginia.
And nobody knew if you were coming back. They were not mentioning your name. And yet, at the tail end, you came back with new music. I want to talk about the new music first. I wrote a big column last week about entrance music. I liked your song. Yeah. You changed the song. Was this a one-time thing, or is this going to be a recurring thing?
No. It's very permanent. I'm a big advocate of if there's a change in somebody's character or direction or anything, something monumental at least. I don't sweat the little things, but if there's a big change in somebody's character, I'm a big advocate of changing look, gear, music. I mean, all these things are so incredibly important to what it is that I do. So
yeah.
I felt if there was ever a time to do it, now was the time. And I think Cult of Personality is an amazing song. I think everybody knows it. It still gets radio play. It's a great band, Living Colour. And it absolutely 100% fits where my character is in the WWE landscape at the moment.
I really like the song choice. I've always liked that song. And my immediate reaction, which I'm sure was the reaction of many, was that it was a little bit of a statement because you've been, for the last few weeks, you've been playing this role of the guy who's questioning the cult of personality in WWE. So to me, it would seem very deliberate. Was there any other option for that song other than that song?
No, that was it. It came about because Chicago being my last match with the WWE, I kind of wanted to give a little wink and a nod to my old indie days in Ring of Honor when I used that song, and I figured it wouldn't really matter what, I could have came out to the Ice Cream Man truck song, and everyone would have probably lost their
right. And
I figured that'd just be a cool way to go out, make it a little bit different, because to me that was my WrestleMania, so. Everyone likes to do big entrances and different things at WrestleMania, and, I've never been afforded that opportunity, so I just figured I was going to go all out, and I kind of inquired about it, and now I'm in a position where I kind of get to do what I want, and they don't really say no, so I went ahead and did it. It cost probably a lot of money, and I think I'm totally worth it.
So the In Living Color guys were delighted that you made that decision, I bet.
I hope so. I'd like to think so. And in a little way, it's a cool way to give back. I'm big fans of them for many, many years. I mean, I remember playing on my Little League baseball team and that song being like all the rage. So, yeah, I've been a fan of them for many, many years.
Wait, did I just call them In Living Color?
I think you did, but it's a common
I meant
mistake.
Living Color.
Yeah.
See, remember they had the lawsuit.
Shout out to Keenan Ivory Wayans as well. I'm a big fan of his too. I'm gonna get you, sucker is a fantastic movie.
Well, what's funny is they had a lawsuit at the time because Living Color said that In Living Color was stealing their name, I think. And now they just proved why they had the lawsuit, because I got the two confused. But so the last time we saw you before last night was the Sunday Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which was really one of the best pay-per-views ever and ended in the best way possible. You won the title. You disappeared with the belt in the crowd. Nobody knew if they were ever going to see you again. Then you pop up at Wrigley Field the next day. You're at Comic-Con. You have the belt with you. How long did you guys think about keeping this going, where you're just basically social media, internet champ, and nobody actually sees you on TV?
Well, it's not really something that I want to do long.
Right.
Fans think it's the greatest thing in the world, and I think it would be funny to keep me off of TV for as long as it could, possibly go. And I show up at, different shows, and but the reality of it is, SummerSlam is right around the corner, and SummerSlam is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and we need something for SummerSlam. So this obviously is the most logical way to go. And to be completely honest with you, I love wrestling John Cena. You know, I think I bring out something in him, and I think he definitely brings out something in me. And I still got something to prove. I'm not, I'm not content by any means. I'm still here to steal shows, shut people up, and throw my proverbial middle finger in their faces.
Right. Well, you're in that danger zone now because you're playing the heel, but you're becoming super popular, which actually gets fun for a while, but then it becomes, if too many people are rooting for you, then the people who were initially rooting for you because you were the heel, then all of a sudden you're not cool anymore. Like, how do you balance that?
I don't think anything I ever have done has been formula, and I certainly from here on out, I'm not doing anything formulaic. I grew very bored of pro wrestling for a very long time, and I to a certain extent, I still am. I still watch certain guys on the roster, and I think, man, how could you do the same thing day in and day out on all our house shows? So I'm constantly trying to do things different, and I watch everybody on the roster, and I see everybody just kind of doing something that they saw on television once, and nobody really knows why they're doing it. And I question everything from all angles, what works, what doesn't, and I try things. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And obviously whatever I'm doing right now is working.
Right. Well, at the same time, backstage, guys get a reputation, like, they're not a team guy, all that stuff. Like, do you feel any heat from the guys behind the scenes, like that you think you're better than them, or you're calling them out when you're saying gimmicks don't work? Any of that stuff?
I think it's weird. What we do, it's a team sport, so to speak, but it's completely not. It's you live or die by yourself. And when I'm in the ring, I don't have a boss. And I'm sure there's guys that probably really don't like me, and I do what's right for business. I'm not out there trying to hurt anybody's feelings or take money out of anybody's pocket or deliberately sabotage anybody. But I certainly will be extremely honest, with certain people, and everything I say or do, on this podcast or in the ring, I've said to people's faces, so it's not like I'm hiding behind, go, oh no, that was just my character. No, we're cool. I don't play that way. I'm very straightforward.
Right. But at the same time, as you said, it is a team sport to some degree, and you're doing some of these moves, and in the wrong hands, something really bad could happen.
Sure.
So that's got to be like in the tiny bit back of your mind, right?
I know how to take care of myself.
All right. Just making sure. Take me back to the famous Monday Night Raw when, it seemed like you kind of went off the map there, and it got about as big of an internet buzz that I can remember certainly since Twitter started, but definitely the last few years on the internet at least. And it really seemed like you were just unloading, and then they cut the mic off. And like a lot of people watching, I would happen to be watching that one live. I had the reaction of, oh my God, what just happened there? How much thought put into that? How much of the map did you actually go off of, et cetera, et cetera? Walk me through what happened that night.
Well, they basically, we knew that we wanted to cut the mic off, so now I'm playing with how real can we make this? And, it was, when I say it was 100% real, it was 100% real because it came from the heart. It wasn't anything anybody, including myself, sat down and put on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I know what I can and can't say. I know what going too far is, and I went a little bit too far on a couple of those things, but it wasn't anything that was going to hurt business. Like, for instance, me saying hello to Colt Cabana. It's just something that would jar, like, even the most jaded wrestling fan. Oh, well, if it's on TV, it's a work. But wait a minute, he just said hi to his friend who doesn't work here, who, I'm sure the fraction of the audience who even knew who Colt Cabana was at the time was pretty small, but it's enough to kind of skirt that line, and that's my intention. I think there's a lot of people out there that are very jaded and fed the product that hasn't been as good as it should be for a very long time. And they no matter what you give them, no matter how good it is, they're always going to be like, well, they're just going to ruin it next week.
Right.
So they're pushing this guy, and well, he'll be in the doghouse next week. And I really just kind of want to mess with everybody. I wish everybody would just kind of shut up, sit back, and watch it unfold. You know, I'm telling stories, and since about 2005, that's all I said. I'm a storyteller, you know, and I think we're doing a great job so far. Yeah, I mean, sure, you can pick it apart and you can be an armchair booker and say what would be better and this and that, but you know, until the tell-all book comes out, you know, trust me, I'm dodging bullets and doing a very good job.
Was there did you have any doubt at any point over the last 6 months that you actually weren't coming back to WWE?
Yeah, absolutely. My mind was made up. I was done.
Really?
Yep. 100%.
And what changed? What was that? What was the key date when that changed?
Sunday, Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Wait a second. So at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, you really thought there was a chance you weren't coming back to WWE?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I'm stunned by that. I thought from the moment you did the cut the mic thing on Monday Night Raw that this was all like a very elaborate storytelling thing to lead to SummerSlam. So you're telling me that's not true?
No, I was. And the funny thing is I wasn't trying to hold out for a better deal. I wasn't playing my cards close to the vest. I had a gigantic life decision to make, and you know, it wasn't easy, and it took me a very long time, a lot of sleepless nights, and I still wasn't sure, you know. It's kind of a big deal.
What do you think you would have done had you not returned to the WWE?
I sat on my couch, 100%, absolutely.
Co-hosted my podcast with me?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely entertain ideas.
So you went from not knowing if you were going to work to what I'm assuming you're going to be headlining SummerSlam on August 14th in Los Angeles, would be my guess.
Yeah, it looks that way.
That's pretty good.
Pretty crazy.
Plus, like, you know, obviously, after what happened the last 4 weeks, I think, you know, I think you hit stardom, definitely. I mean, you were already doing really well, but I think it moved you to another level. I think casual fans now know this whole storyline, and I can't remember the last time that's really happened in wrestling. I think you'd have to go back to, I don't know, 2002, 2000, maybe when Hulk Hogan came back and won the title, like a storyline that kind of grabbed fans that don't follow wrestling. Would you agree with that? Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that I'm doing your podcast, I think, speaks volumes. You know, I get recognized a lot. I've gotten recognized probably 10 times the amount I am normally good for since that promo, and then since Money in the Bank. Forget about it. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Walk me through when the Money in the Bank, you come out. One of the better entrances I think I've ever seen with wrestling. You're in your home crowd. You come out, songs playing, and you know, just on TV, the energy seemed amazing. What was it like in the arena? Man, you know, I don't know if I can put it into words. I just don't know if I can really describe it. You know, I think I was going out there, and I think I work a lot better in high pressure situations, and for me at least, there's never been a higher pressure situation. You know, I had been vocal about my spot and where I think I should have been, and now all eyes are on me, you know, and not only that, it's just like, I mean, we've done it before where I'm in my hometown and I try to do something to, you know, to get them to boo me. And a lot of the times, to my credit, I think it's worked. Yeah. But this time none of that. I wanted Chicago to be Chicago. I was going to be me and John was going to be John. There wasn't really, another way to do it. It was all about, I mean, I give credit where credit's due. That audience, that atmosphere, that crowd. I mean, they, you know, normally say there's 3 people in a match, 2 guys and a referee, but I mean, that crowd
they were 100% the superstars that night. You know, I mean, me and John could have had a great match in any other city, but Chicago put it over the edge. Absolutely. It was somebody described it as the perfect storm. Which, I mean, I can't argue with that description at all. It was very exciting. It was very cool. You know, a lot of people I knew were there, and I really feel like a once in a lifetime thing, like lightning in a bottle.
I agree with you. I thought that crowd reminded me of the crowds that I grew up with watching in the late 70s, early 80s. Some of the Madison Square Garden crowds where it's just like, you know, those are some of the loudest crowds I could ever remember seeing in my life. And that crowd brought me back to that, I felt like, a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if the SummerSlam crowd will rise to the occasion, because it's actually kind of a hot ticket out here. People are excited for the SummerSlam.
That's good. That's a good thing.
One last question about that match, because another interesting subplot. Cena didn't get a lot of credit, or nobody really talked about him after the match because it was kind of your night. But he easily could have gone in a different direction and really played like a heel in that match and gone after the crowd and done the whole thing. But I thought it was interesting that he stayed in character, and if anything, seemed kind of disappointed that the crowd was so pro Punk. Do you think he put thought into that, or was that just like a play it by ear thing?
No, I definitely think. I haven't watched it. I don't want to watch it. I'm positive I'll hate it. I already know what I would have done to make it better. I know what I'll do next time to make it better. And it was more or less I'm not going to be able to predict. I can guess what this crowd's going to do, but I don't know to what extent and to what volume. And why am I going to try to shoehorn a bunch of ideas into something when let's just go out there and literally let's have fun, and everybody have fun.
Yeah.
You know, the crowd, me, John. I wasn't going to try to force anything that wasn't there. Certainly not, and neither was he. You know, I wanted to have a pro wrestling match. I didn't want to use the stairs. I didn't want to use a table or any other kind of furniture. And it was just a straight up, it was just a match, and on a match where, or on a pay-per-view where, everyone's using ladders and everything else to try to win. And I think what we did, I definitely feel it was something special, and I'm not going to watch it because I'll feel like, maybe it's not good. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Did you hear from any of the legends for that match or for the whole angle or anything? Did you hear from some of the guys who, like Stone Cold, people like that?
Yeah. It's funny. In Vegas, when I cut that promo, by the time I walked from the ramp to the back, and then I eventually got to my phone, I had something like 200 text messages and voicemails and stuff like that. So I knew I did something right. And then the same thing with Money in the Bank. I literally ran up those stairs. I turned around, I held up the title, and I ran and jumped in a car. And I was probably home in 8 minutes. I had my phone sitting with me in the car, and I heard from a lot of legends, and thankfully nobody really had anything, negative to say, which is kind of shy. I don't want to hear something negative. I want to hear what I could have, improved on or what I could have made better.
Did you have any fear about going into the stands like that?
I didn't. Everyone else was having a heart attack about it. The only thing I was worried about was holding on to the title. Right.
Yeah, I'm amazed one crazy guy didn't at least try to rip the belt away.
There's always somebody.
That was a given.
Yeah. There's always somebody.
You mentioned earlier about you were a little dissatisfied. You felt like you could have gotten a better push, things like that. Why don't you think you got a better push? Why did it take this long?
I don't know. Probably because I think it has a lot to do with I've been the same guy I've been since I came in this company. I've always been critical. I've always opened my mouth, certainly when I never should have, and it's got me in trouble. But I've never kissed ass. I don't wear suits. I don't wear dress shoes. And, a lot of times they like the guys, and or girls that are more media friendly. Let's face it. I'm not, I'm not very media friendly. I mean, chances are if you put a guy like Miz, I'll use him as an example because he's very good at what he does, so the talk shows and the media circuits and stuff like that. But in my opinion, he gives very rehearsed corporate answers to everything. It's almost like he's been coached on what to say. And I don't work that way. I just can't. My answers are honest and they're organic, whether somebody likes it or not. And then I'm not safe in that regard. So putting me on Jay Leno or whatever, I'm going to ask Jay Leno why he screwed Conan O'Brien. I don't care what anybody says. I want to know why he screwed Conan O'Brien.
Right. I'm glad you're wired that way because I look forward to that moment. I do want to say I had Miz on the podcast, and I thought it was the most. You called him coach before. I felt like it was the most personable that I've seen him in an interview or anything. Like I felt like I was talking to the real person and not the guy who's playing that character. So I do think those kind of interviews are lurking inside everybody. It probably depends a lot on who's asking the questions. But do you feel like you have a good relationship with Vince McMahon?
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Like, what did he think of the last 3 weeks? What did he say to you?
I think everybody's happy, for now. But I think this business is also very, what have you done for me lately? So, I think the hardest thing wasn't getting on top. The hardest thing is staying on top. I think a lot of people will agree with that. But as far as I know, he's ecstatic with it. It feels fresh. It's something new, and there generally seems to be like just kind of something in the air. I'm not saying it's all 100% me. I feel like a lot of people have wanted a lot of change for a very long time. And if I was the guy that was the catalyst for it, that's great. But there's a ton of people that are misused, upset, and I'm not just talking about the wrestlers. I'm talking about fans too. There's a lot of people that are invested in what we do. They really want to love everything, and sometimes it gets hard. And I completely understand. Sometimes it gets hard to watch the show when you're let down constantly.
Yeah. Well, do you think at least part of that problem had to do with the fact that they bought WCW and then ECW, and you basically have these multiple shows and guys moving back and forth, and I don't know. It doesn't feel like maybe for the first few years that the continuity just wasn't there, and everything kind of felt the same. Is that basically the point you're making?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you have something that's hot, you go with it. But I think for a very long time, there's really nothing that was hot. I think the logo was drawing probably not as well as it could be. It's been a very long time since one specific person or one specific storyline was really what people, got people to come to shows.
Right. Do you feel like when I was researching that wrestling entrance column I wrote, watching some of the old ECW stuff from the mid-90s and the kind of energy that those crowds had, and why is that impossible for that to happen in wrestling in 2011?
I don't think it is. I love challenges too, so for somebody to tell me that I can't do something or it's not possible, well, that just makes me want to do it all that much more. So that's my goal. I'm not in it just to make a bunch of money, for me. I'm not in it just to make things better for me. I want to change the whole game,
Yeah.
I want everybody to be as innovative or creative or at least sought after and talked about than me, because if everybody's making more money and everybody's watching the show.
Right. Who are the biggest influences on you, on your style, how you develop your character, stuff like that? Like, you must have latched on to a few idols coming up, right?
Well, as for the first guy who I actually latched onto because he actually took the time to talk to me and teach me stuff was Eddie Guerrero.
Oh. All right. What about when you were growing up?
Growing up, I mean, I was enamored with Roddy Piper. I loved chubby bad guy Shawn Michaels, you know, wearing the dangly earrings and had, you know, sensational Sherry.
Yeah.
I was, of course, a huge Macho Man Randy Savage fan.
Yeah.
And those are the main guys. And I think it's funny, too, you know, and guys like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, who were guys that they weren't as big as the Hulk Hogans and stuff like that. And you always heard that was the biggest criticism, you know, and now I find myself in the same exact position, you know. I really do believe this business is always going to need guys like myself, guys like Bret Hart. No, I'm not comparing myself to Bret Hart. Bret Hart's, you know, light years ahead of me. You know, he's fantastic. He's the greatest of all time. But
right.
It's always going to need the wrestlers. You know.
Well, but I mean, your mic skills are also probably the best in the business right now. Like, when did you feel like? Because that's been always the part of wrestling that amazes me, is that these guys can come out like yourself and just ad-lib these 5-minute rants, basically. Like, how long did it take you to get to the point where you were like, I can walk out right now in front of 16,000 people on live television and just nail this?
I don't think I can give an answer that's not going to just be dripping with egomaniacal self-confidence, but I don't think there was. I certainly never doubted myself, and I think since day one I've been ready to do that.
Yeah, but there had to have been a point. It's like anything else. Like, the more you do something, the better you get at it. There must have been a point where you were like, I'm really good at this. I now have full command over all my pitches.
You know, I don't know, but I venture a guess that it had to be when I was feuding with Jeff Hardy, and I finally got for lack of a better description, I finally got to be me.
Yeah.
You know, because the guy who just says, this is my name, and I don't do this, and I don't do this, and I don't do that, is kind of one-dimensional, and I don't know why anyone bothered to cheer for me, because it's very, you know, I mean, I wasn't being holier than thou or preachy, but, you know, I mean, we're catering to pro wrestling fans here, you know. Yeah. I'd venture a guess that 90% of our fans, you know, drink beer. They're kind of blue collar, and then here's a guy with, you know, tattoos saying, I don't drink or smoke or do drugs. It's like, okay, off, you know.
Right. Do you worry, like, this started, I think, in the late 90s, the bumps just started getting more and more risky and more and more risky and more and more risky, and we hit a point, I think, probably middle of last decade, where it was just like, all right, how much further can this go? Like, do you feel like we've hit that point yet?
I think it's our job to actually kind of dumb it back down, you know. I mean, for a while it was like every match had some sort of furniture and chairs, and you know, and to make your point, like, what do you do to top that? You know, well, let's throw somebody off a building. Let's put somebody through something that's on fire, and it's just like, after a while, the crowd gets so desensitized, and then they want to see something bigger, you know, and that's just a dangerous spot to put yourself in. I mean, I certainly never want to do another Money in the Bank match. I'll tell you that much. Those things are dangerous, you know, legit.
Yeah. You think that's the most dangerous match right now? Those ladder matches?
Yeah, I'd say so, especially with that many bodies in it. I mean, yeah. You know, watch one of those matches. You know, you got somebody who's 240 pounds standing on the ladder, and somebody else is jumping on the ladder. I mean, those things twist and they bend and they break, and now the next thing you know, you have some sharp implement sticking on the ladder. You know, there's a few times in some of those matches, like, you know, somebody, you know, bumped 6 inches to the right or the left or whatever it may be. Like, they would have been impaled by, like, you know, some part of the ladder that was sticking up. Yeah, those are very dangerous matches.
Tell us quickly about Comic-Con. You went down to San Diego. You brought the belt. You interrupted some things, but it sounded like that was fun. It also sounded like you got mobbed.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. And you know, and that, to my point, like, see what happens when you just kind of do stuff. And you know, I think it's very hard to get the owner of a billionaire or $1 billion company to just say, hey, listen, just trust me. I'm not going to, go out there and, drop my pants and go streaking. Just let me have a little bit of free reign with this. And, I will do everything within, certain guidelines, but you got to push the envelope a little bit. I mean, nobody in this business who made it to the top did it by just doing everything they were told and not taking chances. I think I have the best guts in the business, and sometimes my gut tells me to do something, and I do it. And, that whole Comic-Con thing that's a perfect example of it. It's unscripted. It was fun. I'm not trying to, work all the boys and stuff like that, but I think it's better when they don't know stuff. I got some of the most flattering texts, two of the most flattering texts I got after the match and the whole deal. One was from Christian, one was from Ray, two guys who I respect to the umpteenth degree. The work speaks for itself. But when they texted me and they said, we had no idea what was going on, and we got to watch that match and we felt like fans, that's the biggest compliment to me in the world. Can you hear that incredible sawing, by the way?
No, I didn't hear that, but that's
okay.
nice.
Lovely. Well, good. I currently have somebody working on my house, so
Well, I always have somebody working on my house whenever I do this podcast. So you have SummerSlam. Anything else you can tell us about the next 6 months? Or you want to keep the big mystery?
No, I definitely want to keep stuff a mystery. And the truth is, I don't think anybody really knows yet. I think, everyone says, "Oh, it's a new Attitude Era. You're the second coming of Steve Austin." It's completely false. I'm CM Punk, and if I could call it the new era anything, I'd call it the reality era. I think we have a very talented roster. I think times change so much, and certain people are out of touch with stuff that I don't know if a lot of the talent, people know how to present them in the right light. Guys like Kofi and Dolph Ziggler, I think these guys are awesome, but I think, I think everybody needs to kind of step back, and things need to be done differently. I don't think ratings matter as much as everyone thinks they do anymore, because when Nitro and Raw were going head to head, the combined ratings were like a 9, sometimes a 10. So it's like, where did these millions of people go, and why are we still living and dying based on, those ratings when we don't have competition?
Right. So you're saying, reading between the lines, you're saying that maybe it's time for some new blood, some new angles, a new direction, and maybe not trotting out, Undertaker Kane for the 10,000th time. Is that fair?
I'm saying let's look at our options. There's a billion different ways you can go, and millions of directions for a million different situations, and I just think that we can do things differently and better.
Who's your favorite wrestler and wrestling character, whole thing, other than yourself? Which one do you like the most, respect the most?
We're talking about currently?
Yeah, currently.
It's very, very hard.
Like a guy you look at and you just go, that guy did all the right things. I'm on board.
Rey Mysterio, hands down.
Really?
Absolutely. Ray's amazing. Ray knows who he is. Ray knows what he is, and he's amazing. Everything he does. Ray has the ability to make anybody he's in the ring with look 10 times better than they really are.
Yeah, and he had a big night last night. Ironically, he lost the title, but that was probably one of the best nights of his career, I'm guessing, right? He wrestled 2, I thought, pretty good matches.
He works hard, and you just can't teach experience. Yeah. That's a good quote of Jericho's. Jericho's always saying that to me. You can't teach experience, because he was a guy I asked a lot of advice from when I was like, "No, dude, I'm leaving. I'm split," And he said, "Well, you'll always be able to go back because they can't teach experience." Like what I did, busting my ass on the indies, and actually going out and learning my craft. They can't really teach that anymore.
Yeah, and I think Jericho's a good example of somebody that I feel like his career probably should have been a little better than it was. And he still had a good career. He won the title. He took the big break, and I think that helped him immensely. And I think that was kind of the blueprint for what I was going to do.
You know, I had no intention of leaving and going. I was like, let it rest. Because, you know, believe it or not, is he wants to say what I do is, like, you know, I'm pretty beat up.
Right. When you say you're pretty beat up, what's going on?
Well, I mean, I narrowly avoided having hip surgery in November. That's when I was doing commentary. And that's the one that kind of shook me up, you know, because I just got my elbow scoped over the summer. I believe I was notorious for, you know, never being hurt, always working hard. And, you know, I got my elbow scoped. I didn't miss a beat. I didn't miss a show, you know. And then when I did my hip, you know, that was kind of a wake up call, because I was like, okay, I'm 32 and I'm about to have a hip surgery, you know. And no matter how good the surgeon is, no matter how, you know, not so bad the surgery was going to be or whatever, like, it's still a surgery. Like, the rehab was going to suck, and it's my hip, you know. I would like to walk, you know, and normally for the rest of my life. So
right.
it opened my eyes a lot to a lot of different things. Right now I'm as healthy as I can be. I just, you know, it's typical bumps and bruises and stuff like that.
Yeah. Last question about, just in general about wrestling in the internet era. Everybody's an expert. You got a million message boards. You got a million blogs. You got Twitter, people reacting immediately after the end of a match or a pay-per-view. Is it better off to ignore this stuff? Do you embrace it? Like, what's your game plan with that?
My game plan is, my audience is my audience. So whether it's a 5-year-old kid who doesn't know what the internet is and just likes John Cena because he wears colorful T-shirts and he's got big muscles, or, like I said, the most staunchest, jaded, you know, wrestling fan, the hardcore fans are always going to be there. So why wouldn't you cater to another audience to try to garner their attention, you know, because these guys are always going to be there. I don't ignore it. I certainly don't take everything that I read or hear for gospel, because you can't, you know. And I'm also not going to jump down anybody's throat and say, like, well, you're not in the ring, so you don't know what it's like. I'm more inclined to say, well, look, what territory have you booked, and what do you know about the business? Like, you can sit behind a computer and tell me what you think would have been cooler. For instance, like, did I come back too soon? Maybe, but until you watch next week, you don't know what the explanation is, you know? I mean, this would be like somebody going to, you know, like, say you're watching Predator for the first time, and Jesse the Body dies, and he was the coolest guy because he had the big gun. And are you gonna get pissed off and go, Jesse the Body died too early, I'm leaving? You know, I don't know. Maybe some people do. But, you know, everybody's an expert. But when it comes down to it, nobody knows what's going to happen on Raw next week. And I think that's kind of the idea. Tune in next week, see what happens, see where the story's going. At least that's what I want to get back to, you know. And when it's all said and done, and, you know, if there's a better way to do it, you know, I'm sure everyone's going to have their opinion. I know I certainly have my opinion.
Well, you made 3 kids that I know cry on Sunday night. Not 1, not 2, but 3. You met one of them, my buddy Sal's son, Archie. He cried. He went to bed crying. 2 other kids included. What is it about John Cena that these little kids, like, they live and die? What is it about that character that gets them? I don't get it.
I think a lot of us, I mean, we're on television, so we're larger than life, you know. And by the way, the number is way more than 3 that I made cry, because that's not the first time I've heard that since Sunday.
Right.
But I think that's great, you know. Like, everybody involved is doing something right if you generate that kind of a reaction, you know. And obviously, I don't want to hurt any, you know, kid's feelings. But if he's just crying because his guy lost, like, that's great. That's as good as a grown man being upset because, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't win the Super Bowl. You know, I mean, it's the same thing. It's an emotional reaction. That's the business we're in. You know, a lot of people like to say, "Oh, we're in the business of putting smiles on people's faces." Well, conversely, if you get somebody to cry, that's all the same business. You know, it's entertaining.
Listen, CM Punk, you can spin it any way you want, but you broke some kids' hearts on Sunday night. You're going to have to live with that the rest of your life.
I couldn't be happier.
Good luck to you. I'm really happy for you. And, I love everything that happened the last 5 weeks. And it certainly got a lot of casual fans back in. It got me a little re-energized. And I'm very anxious to see where this whole thing goes. Congrats on your success. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you very much. And I want to, and my parting gift to you is to say, I think it's very cool that you've had The Miz on here. Thank you for having me on here. I think a lot of people are embarrassed about pro wrestling, and I don't think anybody needs to be. My goal is to make this cool again, and it's not just going to be me who does it. It's going to be me and Cena and Miz and Rey Mysterio, and that's where the team effort comes in. I want to open this thing wide open again, like it was, in the late '90s. So you're a good help. Thank you for getting the word out. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And good luck in SummerSlam. Hopefully, talk to you soon.
Thank you.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.